Hello and welcome back to our new series, the Jewish marriage, Taharat Hamishpacha. You may name it whatever you want. No, not whatever you want. Like the Jewish marriage or Taharat Hamishpacha. The idea is to reconnect or to discover, for some of you who are not married yet, what is a Jewish marriage? Why do we get married? What is the power? Last week we saw the power of a Jewish woman, right? And today we're going to see what is the ideal relationship between men and women. But before that, we're going to dedicate this class, Bezrat Hashem. So give me just a second so that I find the list. Okay, so this week's day of learning is being sponsored לרפואה שלמה Adel Miriam Bat Michal Alia, who has a surgery Bezrat Hashem tomorrow, is the daughter of our dear friend Michal, who was always sitting here. She gave birth 2 weeks ago, and the baby needs a little surgery tomorrow. So Bezrat Hashem, we should really dive in with intention, knowing who it is and everything. Okay. And this week's lunch is sponsored by Janine, our dear friend Janine, Leilui Nishmat of Hasiba Alice Bat Jamila. So if you are eating here, there, don't hesitate to do Leilui Nishmata. And it's also dedicated Leilui Nishmat Rachel Bat Emilia, Elise Bat Nina, and לרפואה שלמה, Adel Miriam Bat Michal Alia, Tinok Ben Michal Alia, Leah Chana Devora Chaya Bat Mazel Tov, a little girl also from our community who is 3 years old and needs all our tefillot. She has leukemia and she really, really needs to go through a very long journey. So have her in your mind. Shulamit Sulika Bat Rivka, the daughter of one of our dear friends also here. Tinok Ben Michal, another Tinok Ben Michal. Yosef Ishai Ben Daniel Miriam, the husband of our dear friend Leslie. Eliyahu Navi Ben Tita Esther, the husband of our dear friends Doris. And Leib Shlomo Ben Sarah Leah, Noah Ben Sloan, Rav Sholom Dovber Ben Rachel Beila, Rabbi Lipsker, Raphael Yaish Ben Chana, Laurence Aviva Bat Sarah, Caroline Yehudit Bat Joël Eliane Sima, Eleni Orna Bat Chen Chana, Raphael Chaimir Ben Sima Chasha, Rav Pessar Yosef Ben Hinda, Rav Daniel Rachama, and Alexandra Shirley Bat Nicole Malka. Okay, so tell me. Yes. Eden Bat
Jessica Hana.
Okay, Eden Bat Jessica Hana. Okay, perfect. So last week we saw, did I started recording? Yes. Last week we saw, hello Miriam, welcome. Last week we spoke about an introduction on the power of a Jewish woman. Okay, what did we see? For those of you who were not there, we understood that a Jewish woman has the power to transform something chol, so ordinary, into something extraordinary, kadosh. Okay, this is our power as women. And it is true in the matter. We see that through the mitzvah of Afrashat Chala. It is true in the concept of time. So on a moment, we can transform something ordinary, an ordinary moment, or even a sad moment into, or even a boring moment. And we know that that happens still, even if the kids have a lot of distraction, there's a lot of moments where they could be bored. You can transform it. We can transform it into something extraordinary, right? And also so that's through the Adlakat Nerot, and through the mitzvah of Taharat Hamishpacha, we learn that we also have that ability in the relationship. Okay, so we discovered last week what was also the concept of nida. Nida means to be separate, but what does it refer to? It refers to the mourning, a spiritual impurity linked to the loss of a potential life. Okay, this is nida. Now, we also know that nida refers to a part of our cycle, not only actually. because a girl who just received her period, right, became a nida until she will go through the process of Taharat that ends with a mikvah right before her wedding. Okay, so she is a nida before she gets married until she dips in the mikvah, and now she's not a nida and she can be with her husband. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nivro.
Amen.
Sorry. Okay, now we understood that. Now we're going to speak about that beautiful relationship between a husband and a wife. Okay. And I'm so sorry. I'm going to put on pause. Okay, there's something that we didn't mention last week is how Hashem created men and women. So the first human being ever created was called Adam Arishon, the first human being, right? And how was he created? It's interesting because it's very similar to the way we make challah. How do we make challah? We take flour we take flour, we mix it and blend it with water, and we make a dough, right? How did HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Adam Arishon? First of all, he had the idea. Very important. What was the idea? Let's make a being, let's create a being in our image. Our image. And there, I want to introduce a concept. Why our image? Because Hashem is one, we know that, right? We say the Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And yet, even if Hashem is one, there is another reality that we have to embrace. And this is referring to what Sarah taught us this morning. Sometimes there are different truths. It's just that there is one truth, but there are different perspectives on it, okay? So Hashem is one, and yet Hashem has a multiple personality. He's not schizophrenic, God forbid, chas v'shalom. What is it? Is that inside of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there is a perfect harmony, right? The perfect shlemut between women energy, feminine energy, and masculine energy. Between feminine and masculine. Okay? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to the angels, let's create a being in our image, meaning both feminine and masculine in one. So the first Adam that was ever created is actually androgynous, meaning he's one side feminine, one side masculine in one same body. Okay? And this is very important because this is going to make us understand what is a couple. So imagine Adam Arishon was born, he was created. We're going to come back to the idea of making Adam like making the challah because it's very linked together. There's a lot of relation between making challah and making Adam. And that's, by the way, one of the reasons why we make challah is because Hashem made Adam Arishon this way. So what happened is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Adam by taking some dirt, not flour, but dirt. It's still the same type of material, of consistency. And he mixed it with water, right? First, he took it from the four corners of the earth. Very interesting. There are no corner to earth. What does it mean? It means it was different colors of dirt. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted that there should never be a part of this planet where Adam would be rejected, where Adam would feel he doesn't belong. So he took from four different colors of dirt from the different areas of that globe in order to create Adam Arishon. Adam Arishon is black, yellow, blue. No, not blue. Okay. We are from the spectrum of colors. We all belong to the same humankind. And I feel like it's something we should remind a lot of people. I'm so sorry for coughing like that, but it doesn't go away. No, I think it's a little bit of asthma at the end. je sais plus comment on dit, wheezing. Anyways, so Adam Rishon was created as one. Okay, that's why that's the difference with that's the similarity with the Chala. What happens when we have this beautiful dome? We separate it, right? We saw that last week. Now let's see what happens to this beautiful human being that is created feminine on one side, masculine on the other side.
Yeah, one more. One more.
You have a question?
One more. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Better.
A mommy with her daughter, with her kids. Okay. So what happens to this human being? This human being is created not only with the two energies of the universe, that, by the way, are not when Hashem created the entire universe. He diffused the feminine energy and the masculine energy in everything in the universe. Everything. That's why in Hebrew, in Lashon HaKodesh, you have feminine and masculine, like in Spanish, like in French, not in English. You don't really have like a table is not feminine or masculine, but in Hebrew and in other languages, it is. Why? Because he created the universe with the speech. So the speech, the Lashon HaKodesh, actually infused the universe with a destination. I'm so sorry to cover that much. I have. Wait. 1 second. Sorry about that. So he infused the entire world with the imagine like that those Hebrew letters are actually like Lego pieces, okay? And that's what created the world. A little bit like in the movie The Matrix. Did you see that movie? In that movie, you have people who are so actually people who live in this world cannot see the reality of the world. This is not a real world. It's a cyber world. I'm so sorry. That usually doesn't happen to me that often. And he created the world with those Hebrew letters. And for some reason, the feminine, so the world was created with femininity and masculinity, with male and female energy. The female energy is called Mekabel. Mekabel is a little bit what you mentioned earlier, is to receive. To be Mekabel is to receive. But it's not only to receive, it's to receive and to transform, to nurture and transform. You mentioned that to Rabbi Rofe earlier, right? That is the energy of femininity. The energy of masculinity, the male energy, is to be a mashpia. Mashpia is that strength, that force of giving. Okay, so you have a giver and you have a receiver. Those are the two strengths in the universe. Pull, receive, give, receive. Those are the two strengths. And this is how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Shalom. He's the perfect harmony between those two forces. Okay? Why is a table, for instance, or why is the earth called Adama, and Adama is feminine? Because in Hebrew, Adama means something that will receive a seed or receive the rain, and from that, it will nurture and transform, and life will grow out of it. And therefore, it's a feminine form. Masculine form, Geshem, okay, the rain. The rain is pouring down. So it's giving, it's mashpia. And therefore, it's a giver and it's masculine. So everything in this world has a masculine form and a feminine form, including, and hold that in mind because we're going to come back to that in a few minutes, but including men, Adam and Rishon, okay? But for the moment, it's in the image of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so it's in one only body. He was given Adam Arishon was given the power of creation through speech. And we know that we are studying it today because it's Parashat Tazria Metzora, right? So we're studying the power of speech also through the Shmirat HaLashon. But it's very important to understand that Hashem wanted him to understand that from scratch, from the first moment of his life. So we are Friday morning, right? And Hashem is telling Adam Arishon, listen, I created an entire world before I placed you in this world. I placed you in Gan Eden, and Gan Eden is a very special place of the universe. But now I need you to come and exercise your power of speech. So you understand how powerful it is. I created many creatures besides you. They are called animals. And those animals, for the moment, do not have any names. So I need you to come, Adam, and to name them. This is going to be your first work of power to naming something, giving a definition. This is something that Adam, human beings, will do. They will define, they will give a destination to many things that Hashem created, right? So Adam Arishon arrives in front of the zoo of the creation, and he sees Mr. and Mrs. Giraffe passing by, and he says, this is going to be Mr. and Mrs. Giraffe, Mr. and Mrs. Elephant, Mr. and Mrs. Ant, Mr. and Mrs. Lizard. There's always a Mr. and a Mrs., right? Any animal, any creature has been created with a male energy in a male body, a female energy in a female body. And Adam is very smart. At the end of his job, he looks at HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Well, he speaks with Hashem, and I'm going to transform a little bit. I'm not going to quote the Torah on that. But he says, Hashem, I don't understand. Why is it that all the creatures, the living creatures that you created, have a feminine body in a feminine energy in a feminine body, and a masculine energy in a masculine body, and I am alone? Why can't I have a chance to also experience the other? Why can't I have the chance to have another to hug when I'm sad, to cry on the shoulder when I need to cry, to dance with, to hug, to love, or just to confront my ideas? Why can I have that chance? So Hashem decided to create Adam Arishon as one, feminine and masculine in the same body, and then he hears that. And obviously that's the plan, because we know Hashem is not limited in time. Hashem says to Adam Arishon, you're right. It's not good that Adam be alone, that human being is alone. We're going to create an ezer kenegdo. We're going to create a help as against you. And we're going to see later on what it means, right? So what does he do? Kadosh Baruch Hu has this being, okay, in front of him. It's androgynous. And he's going to put Adam to sleep. Why? Because he's about to proceed to the first surgery of humanity. So he throws, the Midrash says that he throws his spiritual talit on top of Adam Arishon. It levitates like that. Anyways, it's all spiritual, so it doesn't show anything, but it means that he creates a shelter. He creates a shelter to proceed to that separation, right? And Hashem is going to separate. And why is it interesting to remember that we said there is a parallel between the creation of the dough and the creation of Adam Arishon? Because now Hashem is going to separate the feminine part, the feminine side. And this is where the translation of the Hebrew is sometimes tricky, because Christianity transformed it into the rib. But it's the side, the feminine side. He separates it, and he's going to make it into Chava. Now, let's go back to our dough 1 second. We have a dough. And what do? We separate a part. What did we say last week? Oh, that part is the extraordinary part. Yes, ladies, we are the extraordinary part of humanity. Why? It is the one that is dedicated, that is the most spiritual part. Why? Because when Akadosh Baruch Hu created Adam, he first started by taking dirt, right? So we have to understand that man, the male part of humanity, is very connected to the matter, very sensitive to whatever is sensorial. Why? Because they were created like that. They were created from matter, from dirt, from earth, right? But what happened after he created that shape? It's not alive yet. Hashem is going to blow into its nostrils a nishmat achayim, a neshima, a breath of life. And what is that neshima? It's our neshama, our soul. So basically, man is created from earth, from the matter, very sensitive to the sense, to the sensorial world, to the material world, because it is made out of it. But women are created from a being that has already received the neshama. And the neshama is a chelek eloka mimal, mamash, meaning like it's a part of Hashem really inside of us. So it's a part of infinity. It's a connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that also explains the class that we had previously with Rabbi Rofe, which is why do women don't need to do everything. We don't have the same mitzvot, the same laws, the same commandments as the men regarding what we have to do timely, right? Why? Because we have inside of us, we have been created with a special connection already to Hashem. Okay, so in order for us to elevate ourselves and connect to Him, we don't need as much effort, as much cables. A mitzvah is like a cable that attaches you to Hashem, right? So we don't need as much cables because we were separated from a being that had already received a part of Hashem inside. So for us to connect to Him, it's somehow more easy. Yes, Ariela.
Of course, I've heard this before, that women don't need time-bound mitzvah because they are already connected throughout the day. They feel Hashem.
It's because they were created like that. They were created with a part of Hashem from something that was already spiritual.
From the men.
It's not the men, it's from Adam Arishon that was androgynous at that point. Okay?
So you're trying to emphasize that it was because we were already created from Kedusha.
We were created from a being that we were shaped. We found our individuality. The moment Chava was created, she was created from something, let's say, okay, not something, but a being that was already spiritual. She was not created from a material thing.
Oh, because man was from earth.
From earth. It doesn't make the man not less spiritual. Maybe from scratch, yes, but they can definitely become very spiritual. But it's not inside of them. They have to work much more, right? And we're going to see also that from the moment Adam and Chava get together, there's a mix of femininity and masculinity. But the first woman ever created was separated from a being that has already received spirituality, a part of Hashem, not spirituality, a part of Hashem.
That was created by God.
It was created by God, but it received inside a neshama. So we have one being that is created. It's the 2.0 version, if you want. It has already received another software, right? Yeah. The software is the neshama. And why is it so important? Because we're going to speak today about achakot. The achakot are the laws that rule, let's say, the relationship between men and women during the period of nida. Okay? So that's why it's very important, because we're going to see that everything is linked to that. Everything is linked to how we perceive the world. Men are created from matter, and they are very, very, very almost impossible to resist to whatever is sensorial. Sensorial. We have 5 senses. We'll see that in a few minutes. Women, because we were created from, of course, we're sensitive. Of course, we're also sensitive to the sensorial. But the fact that we were created from a being that was already spiritual, we can detach ourselves a little bit more easily. Exactly. And it means that spirituality or intellectuality or logic can also lead us instead of the senses. You understand? The physical world doesn't always take the lead. We will rationalize in front of a handsome man. We can tell ourselves, wait, I have a husband, kids. Okay, this guy is very nice, but thank you. No, thank you. Okay.
Walk away.
We can walk away, even if that guy is going to jump. Okay. When for a man, it is a different situation. But let's see why it is so important to understand that within the relationship. We're not speaking about a third party here, speaking within the relationship. So there is this idea, very important, that men are very sensitive to the sensorial world. Okay. Actually, we even see, okay, actually, they even are so sensitive that when a woman and a man are married. Now, first, let me finish the story of how Chava was created. Chava was separated. She was shaped. The Midrash tells us that Hashem braided the hair of Chava and brought her under that beautiful talit, spiritual talit of Hashem. He woke up Adam because Adam was asleep for the surgery. We know that they don't like to suffer. Okay. Adam, right? And what happens? Adam wakes up. Oh, and who does he see in front of him? And what does he say? Zotapam. What? That's me. That's my flesh. That's my bones. Yes, it is. Why? Because now we know that a few seconds before, they were flesh and bones. One flesh, one bones. They were one body. They were androgynous.
Facing each other.
And now they are facing each other. And why do I tell you that it's a secret of the couple? Because how do we say couple in Hebrew, Cathy? No, zug. You know how we write zug? It's a man. It's Adam Arishon in front of his wife. Realizing what? Yeah. Are we just, the Vav always represents, we saw it last week, the connection, right? So zug. Okay, so what this moment makes us realize, wait, we were once one being. We have been separated like 2 pieces of a puzzle. And what is going to happen now is amazing. Hashem woke up Adam. He said, wow, that's me in another body. And he desired that. He asked for that. That was the plan of Hashem. Hashem knew that there will be Sarah and Abraham, Rivka and Yitzchak. He knew all of it because the Torah is there before the creation of the world, right? He looked into the Torah in order to create the world. So we knew all that. But what happened? He also knew that, wait, Adam Arishon, or let's say, my husband is Moshe, and I'm Esther. Moshe Sidbon will one day look up to Hashem and say, why this headache? Yes, but sometimes, like everyone, right? And Hashem will tell him, hey, you asked for it. Okay, you wanted her. You desired that alterity. If we say that in English, I'm not sure. This other person. You were the one who realized that alone you cannot have good. That you need the other one not to be together with you, but you need that confrontation. You need that in order to be the best version of yourself. And she does too. As one, it's an ideal.
So he put a desire in.
So he puts that situation, that nisayon, mamash, in order for him to realize, wait, I need her to be outside of my body. I need her, we need to be facing each other because we need each other in life. We need to be supportive of one another. And if we have only one body, who do we support? Who will support us? Okay? Hakadosh Baruch Hu. And that's when, and we're going to see that. And Eliana, my dear friends, if you don't know Eliana is a powerhouse, my dear friend that I love so much, an inspiration for the nation. And I'm so happy to see you here. Welcome to the Midrasha. Now that said, we're going to see that you're right. So what happens? He actually brings Chava underneath the talit, and now they're standing, both of them, like that, under the talit. And what happens? Guess what? They get married. Nachon. And how do we know they get married? Because the Tanakh, the Torah says, Parashat Bereshit, and that is why when a man marries a woman, he leaves the house of his parents and click with his wife to make to make one flesh. So basically, we know that Adam and Chava didn't have parents. Who is this? Who is this turned to? It's for us. Chava and Adam didn't have parents. They didn't have an umbilical cord. They were the only one who didn't have an umbilical cord. Okay. But what happened?
You put me to think.
Yes.
If Adam knew about Abraham, he knew that he was going to sin. So why did he do
Yes, we're going to see that. But we spoke about Hashem. But you're right, Adam knew also. He could see, he had that clear vision on everything. But we're going to see. And we're going to see what the Chassidut says about, yeah. No, not everyone.
Yeah,
We'll see. Yeah, yes, of course, because he had the busha. He was ashamed of himself. Okay, but what is interesting here, they're now getting married, and Hashem, through the Torah, is telling us, you are now married. What does it mean? You're becoming one flesh. So wait, we were one flesh. You separated us, and now you want us to be one flesh again? Exactly. This is the destination of the marriage. What is marriage destination? Oneness, unity, and connection. Oneness, unity, connection. You are actually two pieces of a puzzle, and you need to be one again. This is the destination. Now, the problem is, and this is the class of today. We have 15 minutes.
There's no problem. Oneness.
Okay, unity and connection. Worst case scenario, we'll finish after. I'm just going to check if. Okay. So we have one piece of the puzzle. The two pieces want to connect. One piece of the puzzle is sensitive to sensorial world, very, 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 so much as a magnet, right? He cannot resist it. It's a strong force within him. The other one really wants to connect emotionally, spiritually, intellectually. And how do you make those two pieces of puzzle match together? This is when the achakot arrive. Hashem decided to create a series of laws that would enable us, women, to receive what we need, which is friendship, understanding, emotional connection. No woman wants to go be intimate with her husband if there was a problem of emotional connection before. The destination of the marriage is, we said, to become one flesh. When do we get that one flesh? When there is intimacy. And it's called in Hebrew, in Lashon HaKodesh, the mitzvat ona. That's mitzvat ona, and we'll see that when we speak about intimacy later on during this series, is actually a mitzvah that that is oriented towards the woman. And that's why it's ona. We said it's feminine, right? Why? Because it's a responsibility of the husband to do that mitzvah and to answer, because la not is to answer his wife's necessity to feel complete. But it's not a physical necessity only. It is an emotional necessity. And how does a woman becomes complete emotionally? When she feels seen, when she feels that she exists in the eyes of her husband, when she feels heard, when she feels understood, right? So this is a perfect setup of a chatan and kala before they get married. When they are in shidduchim and they speak, and I remember myself when I was a fiancée, as we say in French, right? I was living here, my husband was living in Paris. Do you know how much time we spoke on the phone? I was telling him, he was up at 4 in the morning, it was 10 p.m. here. And I was telling him about my connection with my grandma, when I was a child. Get married, and then you enter the bedroom and you say, and he says, oh, we'll speak after, okay? Why? Because once a man has been connected in a sensorial way with his wife, and that's why there's also the laws of being shomer negia. Why? Right? Because the touch is such a connective mitzvah, a sense, such a connective sense for us all, for all human beings, but a lot for the men. And the intimacy even more, right? Imagine intimacy in English. I like it because it says into me, see, right? Into me, see. See me inside. See me for who I am inside. But it's also an invitation. Yeah. The woman, the wife, invites her husband to be one with her. It's very, very deep. What a very strong connection. For the woman, she has to accept to be vulnerable, to open up her heart to him, to feel comfortable, because it's very, very, a very deep connection. The deepest connection. And by the way, this is the most important relationship of all. More important than the parents, more important than the kids. A husband and a wife are one. There's no oneness with a parent, besides when we are in the womb of the mom, right? But the moment we are alive as an individual, we're already two beings. But a husband and a wife are one. Forever, until life parts them apart. How do we say? Okay. So this is how it should be ideally. It's not always. This is what we have to look up to, and this is what we have to try to achieve. Okay. So we're gonna see that touch. So why does Hashem give us this moment of nida, of separation? As we saw last week, it's because it enables the relationship to be extraordinary. It is a renewal of the relationship every single month. Every single month, there is this withdraw, and then we give again, and withdraw, and we give again. But during this period of withdraw, it's a physical withdraw. It's a physical pause. Why? Because Hashem knows what the woman needs. And what the woman needs is emotional connection. If the man is extremely sensitive to a point where he can lose the logic on many things because of that physical sensitivity, and they are already married now, so they have access to a connection that is very deep, as we said, right? Physically. How will she receive from him that emotional bonding that she needs? Because every time, give me your hand, be my husband for a joke. Okay, every time she will give him even like the phone, and their hands will touch, he will be connected physically already. Because again, it's like magnetic. He cannot resist. Every time she will arrange her buttons, he will be like, oh my God, emotional already somewhere else. And we think like, are you kidding? Really? No, it's just that there are two realities. We were not made with that like them. We were made from a different source. And therefore, we cannot understand their challenges. For us, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And it's true. Really? Like when I learned, the first time I learned about the laws of Negia, I was like, but why? You know, like, why would a man like be attracted because they touch the hands? I didn't understand because I came from a world where I was not religious and I would kiss men to say hello, how are you, touch their hands, things like that. And I didn't feel what they felt, right? Now I want to introduce a concept. So Hashem created this moment, this very special moment of spiritual impurity, also to give the opportunity to the woman and to the man to connect on another level. In order for the man to connect on the level of emotion with his wife, what needs to be shut down? We need to put a little distance in something. His sensorial, the five senses, right? That's why it's called the achakot, which has the same root as rachok, which means far. It's not a distance between men and women. No, it's a distance between men and the sensorial world with her. Okay. Let's see what is touch. Touch is the most powerful, the most powerful connector of all. And I'm going to give you an example. There was a study done by the MIT, okay, regarding pain, how do you call it? Pain management, I think. Okay, pain management, okay. They were trying to find a way to alleviate the pain. And I'm talking about, I think it was 30 years ago, 20 years ago, something like that. I've known that for a long time. So it's probably 20 years ago or 30 years ago. And they tried different experiments, you know, scientists, they try many things. And they realized that there's something to look into with the touch. So what did they do? They decided to do a scientific experiment. They put a booth. There is a person, like, so they have a sample of a population that have been selected. They come inside of that booth. They're connected to electric cables. Okay, they're not going to kill them, but that are going to send them a little bit of pain, electrodes, okay? And they are in the dark and they analyze the level of pain. So they send electricity and they analyze the level of pain. Yeah. After that, there's a second round. The second round is the same people go through the same electric level, right? But this time, they are able to receive a hand of a human being, not dead, a real one. It's not Halloween. Okay. A human being holds their hand in the dark, so they don't know who that is. Okay. The level of pain subsides by 10% or 11%. I don't remember exactly. Which means that just by touching a human being that you don't know, you don't even see the face, it alleviates your pain. It recomforts you. Now, another round, the third round. They still don't know which hands they're holding, but now is the hand of their spouse, of the person they love. Now it goes down to 20%. And they don't even know who that is. What does it tell us? Something that we know from the Torah, but it's always good to remind ourselves with scientific experience for some reason.
It's the same with babies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They did the same thing with babies. A baby can, I had a 29-weeker at one point, my third boy. And I remember I couldn't wait, and probably he couldn't wait to be taken out from the tubes in order to be able to be like the kangaroo care, they call it. But that moment of connection where they put for the first time your baby on your chest, on your skin is like, oh, wow, like a second breath, like it's oxygen for you, for your mind, for your neshama. It's so connective, right? And they also did a terrible, I think it was a very, very terrible experiment in the United States in the 1960s. They took orphans. There was a lot of orphans. There was an issue in a village, and there was a lot of orphans. Unfortunately, they took orphans and they separated, they separated a group into two. This group of orphans into two. One part of the group, they gave them food and care. They spoke to them. They gave them love, attention, and they touched them. The other group, they would just change them without speaking, without giving, without no touching, no hugging. And it's horrible, but 20 years after that, they realized that the intellectual development of those who had never been loved, touched, spoken to was very, very behind compared to
Like sociopaths?
yes, also, you're right. Some of them, exactly. Some of them died, exactly. Some of them died, and those who survived, even if they were from the same genes, because the same families as the others, they didn't have the same ability physically, emotionally, mentally, and yes, some of them became sociopaths also. So it's terrible to see how, like, it's not terrible, it's beautiful, because now we know what to do with that. But we can see that touch is something that so connected, it's vital to the human being, right? And we don't realize because we're somehow immune to it. Those who live in the secular world, I used to live in the secular world in France. In Paris, everybody says, how are you? Even if you don't know the person. You don't know the person, you kiss, okay? It's very weird. I moved to Italy in Milano, and the first week, I was still a young student, not aware of the laws of Shomer Negia. And they introduced me to some people in the university, and I said, "Oh, hi," and somebody told me like, oh, "We don't know each other," and I'm like, "So what?" No, not at all. So they said, "No, the first time you shake hands, and once we're friends, we kiss." I'm like, "Okay." But it made me think when I came back to Paris and I learned at one point about those laws, I said, you know what? When you're so used to it, you don't realize the connection that is actually there. You get like numb. You're numb to it, but it's not true. You're not really numb. Exactly.
Everything. My son just came from Yeshiva and he came to Miami.
He was in shock.
Walk on the street. I live in a town that you see everything like black, whatever. And maybe you don't realize that this is like.
Even with the screens with the kids now, they see so many things that they think it's normal.
What I'm saying is what you used to when you put yourself away
Exactly.
and you change your thing and then you go back and say, let's.
And then you realize the real impact that it has on you.
Yes.
I agree. And you said your eyes. I remember traveling to Israel once, and I don't watch movies or things like that. Not only because I protect my eyes, but also because I prefer to do something else with my time. Exactly. But I was in shock, and my kids were ashamed. Like, why are you screaming like that? I'm like, I was like in shock. There was a guy watching a Marvel movie in front of me, so I couldn't avoid the pictures, and I was like. And so my kids were like, "Mommy, stop! It's a Marvel movie." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's there's blood all over and this and that, and it's scary, and you don't realize because." And I used to watch movies. It's just like today I don't watch because as you said, I don't have time. And if I have time, I'm going to watch Shiur of Rabbi Jacobson, and he usually don't kill anyone. So yeah. But
But it happens to me too. I used to grew up also no relations, and I used to I have free access to all the movies, everything. And now when I see with my kid and I like a little kid and I see what they're something for their age, and I think this is horrible. Like
it's horrible.
They're destroying our kids and we're letting them.
Yes.
No, but it's because we are detached, becoming more spiritual.
Bye. So nice to see you, Leila. Bye.
Bye-bye, nice to meet
Yeah.
you.
So definitely, we didn't get a chance to go to the second part of the show, but we'll go back next week. Bye, Marilyn. Bye. See you next week. With Natasha. We'll go back next week. I just want to check on Rabbi Abitbol, but I think he's going to join. Oui. C'est bon, j'ai ta date. But no, he's online. But just to let you know that touch is we're going to go through the 5 senses and we're going to experience how it can be. No, it's not even sensual. We don't speak about sensuality. It's going to be really just the touch itself is a connector, and it touches your heart when you touch someone and you don't realize, but it is. And it is even like I remember working for a company at one point, and when I was in business, and they would explain how you can create a trust relationship with a client by touching, by putting your hand on the arm of the person, because when you do that, it creates a connection. So we don't realize, like as Latin women sometimes, or Sephardiot or whatever, we hug, we touch, okay, but it is part of our nurturing. It's an energy, exactly. But it is actually super important to realize the impact it has on a man, on our spouse, on our husband, because many women go to the mikvah. Not many women respect the achakot. Why? Because we don't realize. We don't realize how they can connect or disconnect. But what is beautiful, we're going to learn next week, Bezrat Hashem, the achakot through a different lens. I want to realize that whatever the laws that have been placed, the Rabbanan, because the Rabbanim place those laws in order to help us avoid the Isur de Oraita of having a relationship, of an intimate relation with someone who is Anida, right? With his wife who is Anida. So those are just like safeguards, right? They are here to safeguard us from doing an Isur de Oraita. But actually through that, we understand what is a connective, what is a true way to connect to our husbands. Because when we are told that even a touch of passing a cup or an object from hand to hand, even just putting a cream on a sore shoulder, even just putting a tie, today who puts a tie, but closing down buttons, for a husband, it is something that connects to a physical level, right? We're going to see also opening the bed, preparing the bed. What do you mean preparing the bed? It's forbidden. I don't prepare the bed. No. When you are not Anida, prepare the bed. Invite him in. Like those are things that we have to see in 2 ways. There is a perspective of, yes, that we cannot do. Why? Because when you do it, it actually connects you. So do it when you can. Because it's actually, be mindful about the connection that is created through that touch. We touch the hand of our husband and we don't realize that it's actually like magical. Yes. Okay. We don't realize, but it is. But if we are mindful, then we actually realize it better. Okay, so we're gonna, do you have any questions?
I was at the Rabbi Katz retreat, and he
Yes.
did an exercise with the couples where they look at each other's eyes for half an hour.
Oh,
Wow.
half
I mean,
an hour.
half an hour.
Where,
Do
for the
not-
class?
It was a retreat, and you just look at each other's
Beautiful.
eyes and not say anything, not a word, not allowed to say nothing. And what came out of it is the men especially said they never saw their wife the way they saw her when they looked at her after that, everything looked a little different. Like the aura was different about the woman, and more for the men than the woman. Like the woman said, yeah, we connected, but the men were like in awe of what it did to them.
Oh, half an hour?
Wow.
Half
It's
an
a
hour.
very long
Yeah.
time.
Well, there was little music and, but you were just there, and you have to obviously work your mind and think of things, but and a lot of things came out of it that were very.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of emotions. Wow.
And then a lot of.
Remember Daniel
That-
Pat's from your shoreline? That was my
Very opening to a lot of couples.
That's when he came in the winter here in
No, he did a retreat in Mexico,
in Mexico. Wow.
so it was
Wow.
very intense.
I know it was
I mean, even
Rabbi
if you do that for
Samuel
10
Cohen.
minutes, it's still a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How fun.